So for today's video, we wanted to explain the differences and everything between the Nissan Leaf, the 2018 version,
and the upcoming Tesla Model 3.
So here's the data that we have gathered, and hopefully that will kind of help explain a little bit more of the exact differences. So first and foremost is obviously going to be the price. That is what 99% of people are concerned with, rightfully so. So the Nissan Leaf is going to start at $29,990. I'm pretty sure they were going for an under $30,000 price point with that number.
Yeah, and the Model 3 will start at $35,000. But that $35,000 model is not going to be available until about the end of the year, but I guess the Nissan Leaf isn't even going to be available in the United States until the beginning of next year anyways.
Yep. And on that note, while the Nissan Leaf starts at under $30,000, with the top of the line package, it brings it to just above $36,000.
Price of the Model 3 varies greatly because if you're going to get the regular battery, it will start out at $35,000. But if you start adding the long-range battery, that brings it up to $44,000. I think. And then if you add the premium packages or some of these other packages, you can get up to over $50,000. But again, both of these cars will have tax credits available.
Yep.
Federal tax credit you might qualify for, and also some states have tax credits as well. So the state of Colorado, for example, would be able to save up to $12,500 on either of these cars. I know that Nissan has sold quite a few Nissan Leafs over the years, so I wonder how much longer those federal tax credits are going to be available on the Nissan Leaf.
Yeah, that is one thing we don't know, but same thing goes with Tesla. Tesla has sold quite a few S's and X's, so not 100% sure how long that will last with them, but either way, it should last through at least the middle, if not towards the end of 2018.
Yeah, there'll still be a partial tax credit, if not the whole $7,500, but I'm pretty sure the full $7,500 will be available for all of the first half of 2018 for Tesla.
So the Nissan Leaf SV and SL model do have an option of adding Pro Pilot, which is a $2,200 option, and is a lot like the autopilot functionality in the Tesla Model S and the X.
The Tesla Model 3 does have enhanced autopilot available for $5,000 on top of that $35,000 base price.
But the one thing that the Tesla has going for it that Nissan doesn't is the full self-driving. Nissan will not have that option, whereas the Tesla does.
That will be available as an option. You can buy it now, but we're still waiting for that functionality to be turned on. One thing that Nissan does have that Tesla doesn't have is that 360 overhead view, which can be helpful when you're doing, parking or pulling into tight spaces. Hopefully, as they continue to enhance autopilot, it will make that kind of obsolete because it will be able to do all the parking for you.
We won't need to, so therefore we really don't need it. Although it is kind of nice, so.
And I could see them coming out with maybe not a complete 360-degree view, but with the 8 cameras available on the Tesla, they could add something. They might be able to leave it blank on the front since they can't see down in front of the front bumper, but they still have enough coverage on the other side so they could give you a somewhat 360-degree view.
The Nissan Leaf does have a 7-inch screen, but does offer Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is actually kind of nice.
And the Model 3 does have the horizontal 15-inch LCD touchscreen, but unfortunately it does not yet have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but we're still hoping that will be added. Since it would be a software feature, it could be added at a future date.
Yeah, that would be really nice if you're listening, Tesla. We would like that.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so the Nissan Leaf, the 2018 version, actually gets a 30% bump in battery over previous versions, up to 150 miles of range. But in early 2018, they are supposed to be announcing a larger battery pack. So it is a 40 kilowatt hour.
So the Tesla Model 3 will have about a 50 kilowatt hour battery, and that's supposed to get you about 220 miles. Or if you opt for the $9,000 upgrade for the long-range version, you're supposed to be able to get over 310 miles on the Tesla Model 3.
Which, that long range is double the range of the Leaf.
Yeah, and it's not just about range too, but I think that one benefit Tesla Model 3 has over the Nissan is that you can charge it anywhere on the Supercharger Network.
Definitely.
And while
I'm leaving that in. Comment down below if you know what the ringtone is.
So one benefit the Tesla Model 3 has over the Leaf is that it does have access to the Supercharger Network, which will pretty much allow you to travel almost anywhere in the United States, parts of Canada, most of Europe, large parts of China, whereas the Nissan Leaf, if you're trying to do a road trip, it's a little more difficult. You're
really going to have to plan.
You might be able to charge at some of these CHAdeMO adapters, which are kind of spread out in certain parts of the country. If you live over on the West Coast or maybe parts of the Southeast or up in British Columbia, some places in Canada, there are some CHAdeMO charging stations, but those locations are usually located at Nissan dealerships. There might only be one of them, so if you're trying to charge and there's somebody already there, you're going to have to wait. Yeah. Whereas with the Supercharger Network, they're often 6, 8, 12, 20, maybe even they're coming out with Supercharger stations that will have 40 spots where you can charge, so you're not going to be needing to wait as much.
Looking at you, California.
You're going to have a hard time doing a road trip if you don't live in some of those locations I listed before, because if you look at the map, there's no way to get from one state to another. If you're in Colorado or anywhere in the western states or the plain states, you might be able to drive around the city you live in, but you can't get to the next city. Or if you do, you're not going to be able to charge.
And on that note, the Nissan Leaf does have a home charging of roughly 22 miles per hour of range.
Yeah, whereas with the Tesla Model 3, it's going to allow you about 30 miles per hour.
Yep. And that is on just a home charger that is not level 3, which is obviously going to be much faster. But again, level 3 is not something you can easily install in your home. I'm sure you could, but you're going to be having to pay probably half the car cost for a charger.
I think the term is boku bucks.
Boku bucks. So it's not really worth it. But the Supercharger Network is really what helps sell that Model 3. If you plan on driving like between states, if you're just driving within your city, the Nissan Leaf is certainly a great option.
Yeah, and we'd finally, if with the Nissan Leaf, we would actually be able to make it to the airport now, because with the current Nissan Leafs, we can't even get from our house to the airport and back because it doesn't have the range. The new 2018 model would allow us to do that.
Go ahead and talk about the body style. So the Nissan Leaf is actually a hatchback, so therefore that is going to give the Leaf an astounding actually 23.6 cubic feet of storage.
Yeah, that is a lot more versatile than the Tesla Model 3. The Model 3, it is a sedan with a typical trunk, but they did modify the trunk, so it does open up very wide, so you can fit your cargo in, but it is limited to about 15 cubic feet of storage.
And the back seats, from what we have heard, do fold, but again, we don't know what the full storage is with that. But it will fold, so that should allow you a little bit of extra. But the hatchback, like the Model S, I have so much storage room back here.
Definitely a lot of room in a hatchback versus a sedan.
Yep.
But that's one thing, people who are wanting a Tesla but maybe can't afford the S or the X and are kind of looking at the 3 and thinking it might not work for them, they might want to wait a little longer until we hear more about the Model Y, because that is probably going to be kind of like the X but on a little smaller scale, and I think it will have a lot better cargo room than the Model 3.
Talking about cargo space, the length and width, let's go ahead and compare those. The Leaf is 176.4 inches long, whereas the Model 3 is 184.8 inches long. So it almost cuts off 8 inches lengthwise, and then widthwise it is a good 12 inches smaller. So if you do have a very tight garage, another thing to consider, I know Model S is a very big car and some people have had issues getting it in their garage, is the Leaf is a lot smaller.
The Model 3 is definitely going to be larger than the Leaf, but I'm hoping that means more passenger space as well.
Oh, totally.
While it does lose out on some of that cargo space, it's definitely roomy the way that they've arranged the seats.
Yep.
It's some of the...
It's a very large cab.
Yeah.
So the Nissan Leaf horsepower is supposed to be about 147. The Model 3, we don't know yet. They've been pretty secretive about horsepower and actually what the kilowatt hour battery pack is. So we don't really have numbers to compare to, but we do have 0 to 60 second time.
Yeah, it looks like the Nissan Leaf 2018 is going to be about 8 seconds to get from 0 to 60, whereas with the Tesla Model 3, it's going to be down at 5.6 seconds. Both of those are pretty quick, but definitely the Tesla does have the advantage in this comparison.
Yeah, if you are a little speed demon, Model 3 is probably in your favor.
You know, one thing we forgot to mention that we did hear that Nissan Leaf, at least in Japan, will have some vehicle-to-grid functionality, and that's something that can come in handy. Like back when Fukushima happened, I believe that there were some Nissan Leafs that people were able to plug into those and power their appliances, and some of their appliances, not the whole house, but you can definitely use your car's battery with vehicle-to-grid or vehicle-to-home, I guess. Vehicle-to-grid is more where you provide it back to the whole grid. Vehicle-to-home is more where you're just providing power to your house. That is something that Nissan has said that they will have available on the new Nissan Leaf, but we haven't heard anything about that from Tesla yet. Last year, the VP of Energy in, I believe it's Europe and Africa, did do a presentation where he said Tesla is working on vehicle-to-grid technology, but it's just not there yet. We do know that, you know, it's a little more expensive if you're using the battery in your car. You don't want to cycle it every night to power your home, but I think most people wouldn't want to really use it on a daily basis, but if there's an emergency such as a power outage or, you know, like we're seeing right now in Florida, if the power's going to be out, you could or in Houston as well. You could use your car perhaps to, run your refrigerator or a couple of small devices just so you're not totally without electricity. Okay, well, there is one other thing that we forgot to mention about the Nissan Leaf.
A big thing. It looks 100 times better than the previous models.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw the old one, but the
here's
lights,
an old one, here's a new one.
The lights on the old Nissan Leaf were huge. It was like a joke. Not the Nissan Juke. It was but it was a joke. It's like, yeah, I read that maybe they did the lights for aerodynamic reasons, but it looked, in my opinion, it looked horrible. It looked like a weird mobile. But the new Leaf, it looks like a regular car.
The new one looks great, actually. I'm a huge fan of the new design, so Nissan, congratulations. Like, it's much better.
It's still not as cool and sexy as the Model 3, but it looks like a regular car.
Anyway, that's basically it for today. We just wanted to show you guys the differences. I've had a lot of comments asking me what I think about the 2018 Leaf. I think it's great, and it might actually be the better option for you. You just really need to weigh out what are the pros and cons. Are you going to be doing a lot of traveling with it? If so, that's something you probably should look at a Tesla for the Supercharging Network. If it's just an around town car, it's a great alternative. That way you're full electric, and it's really not a bad car at all. It's really a personal preference. As much as I would love to tell you, buy this car, not this one, I can't. Because what works for you might not work for me and vice versa. So hopefully those facts will help you decide what works for you. And if you need a car right now, maybe look more towards the Nissan Leaf.
Or
Or
you could check out the website.
You could check out our website
and find some great deals on CPO and inventory cars.
Yeah, there's actually some CPO Teslas that were just listed earlier this week for $33,000.
There's even inventory ones that are over $30,000 off.
Yeah, so there's some great deals on some inventory ones. So definitely check out our website, teslainventory.com, if you haven't already. We list out all of Tesla's option code. You can search exactly for the car you want, and even set up saved searches, everything.
We also just recently added the location back. It's a feature that we had removed in the past because the data wasn't always there. But we went ahead and we did some work to enable you to search by location again. The locations aren't quite consistent right now, so we're still working on that, but we wanted to go ahead and get that out there so you can start narrowing it down. And one reason that searching by location can help you out is that you can save some money on delivery charges, because Tesla does charge up to $2,000 for delivery in continental United States if the car that is available is not in your region or your closest store. It's I think $5,000 if you're trying to get it shipped from or to Hawaii or Alaska. But definitely you can perhaps search. There's a bunch in like the Dallas area right now, and there's like nearly 100 cars available there. So if you're in Texas, you can focus on those cars and you don't have to worry about delivery charges.
Yeah, and I think some of them you can get within like 1 or 2 weeks depending on what they are. So definitely check it out. And if you are looking for a newer inventory model, feel free to use our referral code at the top of the page. Doing so will get you free unlimited supercharging, as well as save you $1,000 off your purchase. And in doing so will help us get certain reward prizes, so any help is certainly appreciated. The next big event we will be going to is the semi event. No word on dates yet, but we will be there. Should be pretty epic, so definitely tune in for that. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comment section down below, are you more of a Leaf or Model 3? Definitely curious to see what you guys are. So go ahead and click here to subscribe, here for some more videos, and we will see you all on Wednesday. Bye.